Chers auditeurs,
Dear listeners,
bonjour.
welcome to Comme d'Archi Podcast Season 6.
Saison 6, dans le monde fascinant des architectes.
And in the architectural projects.
Je suis Anne-Charlotte Deponte, passionnée d'architecture et docteur des universités en histoire de l'archi.
I am one of the spokespersons of Anne-Charlotte, who is a PhD in architecture history.
Merci
Thank you
d'être avec moi aujourd'hui.
to be with us today.
Et
And
maintenant,
now,
lundi en français, place au talent.
and Wednesday, let's talk projects. In English, of course.
Bienvenue dans Comme d'Archi.
Hello, dear listeners. This is Esther on behalf of Anne-Charlotte. I'm happy to meet you again today to talk about two projects. One situated in Africa, in Gabon, the French embassy. The other in Bulle near Paris, a fire station. Two very different and singular projects signed by Fabienne Bulle and her agency. But first, let's take a look at Fabienne's background and then find out more about the two projects with a text by the agency itself. Fabienne Bulle was born on June 18th, 1953 in Bourges, Berry, France, where she grew up and developed a taste for materials from all natural resources. This led to her vocation as an architect. She graduated from the École spéciale d'architecture de Paris in 1977. Her work as an architect began in Bourges in 1982, when she was already teaching at the École spéciale d'architecture in Paris. Then the SARL Fabienne Bulle Architectes et Associés was born in October 2012 from the partnership between Fabienne Bulle and two of her colleagues, Pascal Poirier and Hicham Hamze Kadaj, architects. With unwavering perseverance, this new chapter confirms the rare freedom of thought and action of its protagonists, without complacency of any kind, and above all, without ever giving into any fad. The company's activities extend beyond the Paris region. We work with various local authorities, ministries, regions, cities, to deliver the Centre Francilien de Sécurité in Fleury-Mérogis, for example. Today, the agency, based near Paris, in Montrouge to be precise, is undergoing a new transformation, becoming Bulle, Poirier et Justman architectes. Harry Justman, architect, former ESA student and former employee, has joined the structure to transmit, still through shared ethical values, an architecture in motion, complex and innovative. The agency works for the French Ministry of the Interior, Justice and Foreign Affairs, having just delivered the FSC-certified French Embassy in Libreville, Gabon. And for the Rectorat de Mayotte, with the start of work on the Lycée Tani-Malandi in Chirangui, Mayotte. Fabienne Bulle has received numerous awards and distinctions. She has been a full member of the Académie de l'Architecture since 2012. She taught a master's degree at the École spéciale d'architecture in Paris, where she led the Fabrique Collective Experimental Architecture Laboratory, taking her students to Peru, Italy, Haiti, and Africa to build locally. When it comes to questions of living, her answers are marked by the search for comfort of use, natural light, thermal performance, sustainable qualities, and material issues. In her creations, she takes the step from living to collective use, from the domestic to the public scale. She defends building cultures and the perpetuation of know-how, a long-standing approach to understanding materials, their consistency, permanence, transformation, implementation, and imaginative value, articulates her architectural and constructive approach. Wood, the living material of choice, runs through her history. But now, let's move on to the project, starting with the French Embassy in Libreville, Gabon. The new embassy site is located along the Gabon estuary in Gabon's capital, Libreville, on a steeply sloping plot of land adjacent to the ambassador's residence. And it's on this 13,000 square meter site that the new embassy is now located. The new building, which brings together the services of the French Embassy and Consulate, is architecturally and functionally simple. It is designed to capture the living environment, the confrontation between man and nature, to immerse oneself in this territory in order to grasp wood as a resource, with the aim of rebuilding a meaningful architecture that renews the agency's emotional attachment to nature. A frugal attitude, in short, and a desire for meaning through this project. The new embassy boasts an emblematic image, one that characterizes both its function and its duty of representation, an image also evocative of an emerging local economy, of a primary forest in search of responsible exploitation, of a green Gabon with a promising economic and ecological future. A popular image that can be appropriated by both cultures, Gabonese and French, by both peoples, an image of a felled tree lying on the slope of the ground, an image of a log whose lopping has just left a branch, a sculptural image as evocative as African art can be. It's also a beaconing image for a local timber industry just waiting to be conquered, to write the first lines of its history. Deliberately restrained, the workspaces, nevertheless, satisfy a powerful concern for ergonomics, guaranteeing optimal qualities of use and comfort. They are bathed in natural light, no longer dazzling as promised by the equator, but soft and subdued, as exhorted by the play of oblong fins in the bark. The few areas with representative functions, reception and waiting areas, meeting rooms, the ambassador's office and lounge, feature a sophistication that once again showcases Gabon's wood industry, between craftsmanship and industrial design, with wall coverings in marquetry paneling and acoustic false ceilings in lathing. The environmental approach. The new embassy is entirely designed and built around the choice of materials and their environmental and social impact. Although many materials were imported, the agency worked with Gabonese companies, and all biosourced materials are of local origin, such as the wood used for the envelope or the laterite stone for the retaining walls. This contextual architecture meant that we had to choose local companies, Jardin Gab, Faco, Ecowood, MBA Gabon, and use species from the Gabonese forest, such as Padouk logs from the precious woods FSC certified logging operation north of Lastourville, which were felled, cut, and transformed to adorn the embassy. On-site materials were also recycled, such as laterite blocks and their transformation, and felled palm trees, whose braided leaves and bamboo protect the preserved trees. Local resource, Padouk wood. Padouk wood, Pterocarpus sauxitobe, sourced from concessions managed by Precious Wood in Bambidier, Lelama, and Okonja in the Haut-Ogooué and Ogooué-Lolo provinces of eastern Gabon, was chosen for the 226 wooden fins covering the building's exterior facade. The fins were then manufactured by the Ecowood company, which installed the exterior envelope on site. Fins. The fins are made by successively gluing the timbers together to form a single element, for reasons of durability and the imperative challenge of withstanding a humidity level in Libreville of 95%. These woods are hand-glued in a clem press. The fins are glued in their future size, and man's measurement gives us the scale of most of our elements, 17 meters in height and 100 millimeters in thickness for this one. The fins vary from 3 meters to 17 meters. The various stages follow one after the other: sanding, marking, sawing, fixing details, storage, before delivery to the site. Between the architect and the carpenter, a scrupulous understanding of the workings, the limits of the material, and the gesture that go with it transforms the embassy into a material of wood, the architecture of an environment building, a founding thought of the architectural project. The construction of the French embassy required the machining of 8,700 cube meters of padouk and the replanting and planting of 7,770 pieces of vegetation, comprising 70 different species of plants, trees, shrubs, flowers, and grasses. Both the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs and our agency have obtained FSC certification for this virtuous and ecological approach. Let's move on to another project, that of the Bulle Fire Brigade of the Paris Prefecture. This involves the reconstruction of the site at 15 and 17 Boulevard Carnot in Bourg-la-Reine, in place of the old fire station, which has become unsuited to the brigade's daily challenges. Making good use of a building is one thing. It's also vital to understand the reasons for its existence, so that everyone can move into an environment that is familiar, and finally become one with it. If the new Bourg-la-Reine fire station is to provide firefighters with a working tool and living space scrupulously adapted to their profession and daily life, it must also have fine urban ambitions to enhance the qualities of its surrounding fabric and avoid any nuisances that its intense activity might imply. The design of the barracks was shaped with determination and sensitivity to reflect this secure and soothing identity. With a functional determinism that organizes the noisy exit of intervention vehicles on Boulevard Carnot, with a protective sensibility that, in order both to block outside views and to contain the firefighters' glances at the heart of the site, as well as the possible clamor of their activities 24 hours a day, to the benefit of the tranquility of local residents, closes off all adjoining facades in favor of large openings onto the training courtyard, with a volumetric sensitivity that, in order to maintain the scale of a communal neighborhood, divides the outline of each built entity into two horizontal strata, with an expressive, smiling sensibility that, through its choice of materials and their implementation, prefers to avoid any ostentatious or flashy effect. It's an environmental approach without certification, based on CertiVA's référentiel générique pour la qualité environnementale des bâtiments tertiaires, démarche HQE millésime 2015, April 20, 2015. The agency opts for wood for biosourced local materials that are increasingly available and for the circular economy. It is used for structures and finishes, for its CO2 storage qualities, its capacity for prefabrication, its speed of implementation in dry process, its versatility, its precision of detail, of assembly, of constructive evidence. Dear listeners, thank you for tuning in. Let's meet again next week for a new episode in English. Until then, take care. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening.
And thanks to the sound engineer who was collaborating with us today.
Don't forget to tune in to our previews on Instagram at Comme d'Archi Podcast. If you enjoy this podcast, don't hesitate to promote it by giving it 5 stars and a little comment on Apple Podcast or on your favorite podcast platform. And above all, subscribe to listen to all of our episodes for free. See you soon, and until then, take care of yourself.